Naturally, I'm a Tottenham man, obviously. I can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
The place is fantastic, the tradition of this club.
To be the manager of 3 cup-winning teams here, I'm so lucky, it's untrue.
Hotspur America podcast, airing every week during the English Premier League season.
What a glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. This great and historic football club. Joyful night down the Tottenham High Road.
Hotspur America, the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Schoolboy's own stuff.
I hate Arsenal, just hate them.
Oh, my God! Unbelievable! Oh, this is incredible.
We're the Yids in America.
Dempsey's on the tap in. What a fantastic run. He scored! And it's turned home. Eric Dyer.
This is your Hotspur America. Episode 7 of the Hotspur America podcast, and we are coming off another victory against a very tough Crystal Palace opponent that we made, quite honestly, look rather pedestrian, as the boys played a pretty decent match of football and walked away with a 1-0 victory. Son scores again. Amazing.
Super Sunday.
Super Sunday for Mr. Son. As you can hear, Mr. Simon is with us, the chairman of the Dallas Spurs. Simon, how are you?
Good day. I'm super fantastic on Super Sunday.
Yeah, great. And I noticed that some of you guys are already kind of looking at Twitter, and you know that Sam's not with us. Bit of scheduling conflicts this week. It's that time of year again, and we all know that not every week we can be together. I've missed an episode. Simon has to travel for work later today. Sam has some family obligations with a performance from one of his beautiful children, and he's not feeling all that hot. He's a little under the weather.
Man flu.
Yeah, vag flu. Something's leaking. Shouldn't be leaking.
Oh, no.
So we're without Sammy today, but we'll definitely get by. We're going to talk Palace here in a little bit, but first and foremost, Thursday, Europa League action opened up for Tottenham and walked away with a 3-1 win. Conceded an early goal. Trippier had a really clumsy challenge, I think is the best way to describe it, in the box, off to the far right side of the box, and Carback won the penalty, and Lloris guessed right, but very good strike, went in, and we were down 1-0, and fought back hard. Son got 2 goals almost in consecutive minutes, but I think they were 2 minutes apart, one at the 26th and one at the 28th minute, and instant hero status for this kid. Simon, you and I were talking a little bit about how, with me being a supporter since right around the sale of Gareth Bale, all I've ever heard is how hard it is for these players to bed in. And we've seen it with Chadley and Lamella and Eriksen, and how long it's taken them, even Lamella a little bit longer because of the year he missed injured, and then the 4 that we had to cast away because they were just never going to become adjusted to the league, to England, or both. And Son seems to have stepped right in. There's video out there on the web page, the official mothership web page, of him having Korean food catered in for all the guys, and he seems to have bedded in as well as I think you could ask for a player to bed in. Didn't score on his debut, but since then he has been fast, creative, slick, and dangerous. Just flat dangerous. And I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I know his debut wasn't overly impressive, and he was subbed off early. And did he have a really bad game? I think he just struggled to adapt a little bit. He had some decent crosses and corners, and that was a shining light. I didn't get to watch the match on Thursday. I did see the highlights, so I really can't talk much about his performance that night. But obviously watching him today, I was very impressed. His work rate, his touches on the ball. There was one marauding move down the right wing in the first half that really had the commentators purring from the feed we had today. And I was very impressed with him, and deserved Man of the Match award in my book for his efforts today. And you could argue he's a little lucky on the goal. Hey, it was on target. It was right at the keeper, and those are always tough with any kind of pace. And fortunately for us, it went under McCarthy's legs and in the net. And you could argue he could have done better. But we have not been fortunate with some of our efforts on goal so far this season. So we got to take them when we get them, because we'll always be moaning when they don't go our way. But I can't be happier for the lad. And I think a lot of note was made during the match at how well he has been received by Spurs, by the fans, and the club, to your point, with the Korean food. So, it is early doors. It's only his third match, but he scored 3 in 2 games, and that's a very good return so far. And let's see what happens. Hopefully he's starting on Wednesday in his first North London derby.
Yeah, and it was interesting in that match. Lamela got a goal too, had an earlier chance that I believe hit the post, and it could have been him or Dele Alli that took that chance, and Lamela just happened to be on the ball first, charging into the box, and it was just kind of bumbling around in the mixer there, and then he got a nice shot off. He just missed it. Yeah,
there was talk of him nicking that off Ali, and there being a bit of staring at each other. So I don't know what was made of that.
And we're going to get to that later, because I've talked about the tenacity that you see in these young kids, Ali and Dyer and Mason and Bentaleb, and I want to compare that a little bit to what happened over the weekend in the Chelsea-Arsenal match with Costa, and just how those things come off, and how provocative they can be. But you don't have to be an absolute just bellend to get your point across, or to be physical, or to intimidate your opponent. And I want to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, sure.
Interesting thing about the Europa League match too was that Hugo Lloris started. Everybody was expecting Vorm to maybe get some playing time there, but Lloris got the start. Not that he was overly busy, but I just thought it was odd that we did that, and maybe we do that at home, and we'll take Vorm on the road with us. Thoughts on the lineup?
Well, yeah, that was my instant reaction upon seeing that the lineup is how come Vorm didn't get to start in that game. But who knows what Poch is thinking. I'm curious as to what we'll do on Wednesday. I'm hoping he's going to take this competition as seriously as he took it last year. Because I know Harry Redknapp didn't the last time we played him in the Cup, and we lost 4-1 at home. We played a lot of youngsters that day. Granted, so did they. And I think it was 1-1, went to extra time, and we lost on a couple of penalties in the extra stanza. But I want us to field a really strong team, and I would like to see us go all out to win that game handsomely. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So it'll be interesting to see. We still got some injuries. Dembele, Bentaleb are clearly not coming back anytime soon. And nor is Mason. I think they were saying that certainly the latter two are probably closer to returning, maybe just a couple of weeks out. But we've got a lot of games coming up now. We're playing, as you said last week, a couple of times a week, pretty much for the next couple of months. Yeah,
and in Europa League, Anderlecht is the next opponent. They and Monaco drew in their match, 1-1. So that puts Spurs top of the league table for that group, and you expected that. I didn't know. I don't know if I expected them to be alone up there. Anderlecht and Monaco are probably very similar in terms of talent, so a draw there is not a shock. Karabag, look, champions of Azerbaijan, and I get it, but we should be handling them the way we handle them, if not better. So I fully expected the 3 points, and it's proved to put us at top of the group, so that's great. Great way to start. Anderlecht, October 1st. For those of you making the trip, travel safe, and we will be looking forward to another great result in about 12 days. Let's talk Palace. 3 points, again, taken off of Palace. We talked last week about Palace have at least recently, last couple, 3 years, been one of those teams that is like a thorn in our side, kind of like Stoke. And I was really pleased with the pace of the match, the pressing. Because of the injuries in the defensive midfield, we played more of a 4-1-4-1 formation coming out of the box. I was pretty impressed. I thought that was outstanding. The way we looked, the pressing, they looked like they couldn't get anything going, and were basically going to sit back and try to rely on a counterattack to try to nick a goal. And they did hit the woodwork twice. Hugo's, the second one, beautiful save by Lloris, and the first one by Cabaye would have been a world beater of a goal if he could have spun that in, with a little bit of slice to it like he did from a very acute angle. But very much so, those could have missed, the woodwork by feet. They were about as accurate as they could have been. Great play by Hugo, and Cabaye just didn't have the angle. Let's face it, he wasn't going to score from that position. It would have been world beating if he did. And then as the match was rolling on, you could see that there were little fits of frustration from some players. Harry I don't know if he looked a little slow today, or if his decision-making isn't quite where it should be. Lamela can do your head in at times, and then he just makes you go jaw-dropping at times with the stuff he can do. Chadley looked very lazy on the ball today. Ali looked great. Son, we've already talked about, looked outstanding. Dyer, again, commanded the midfield. I thought the wing play, for the most part, played well. Walker looked like he got caught out a couple of times, but his pace always recovers him. And I thought Alderweireld, and especially Vertonghen today, had really good games. And talk to me. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'll give you my opinions on everyone starting at the back. Yeah, Hugo definitely had the save of the game in tipping what was a dipping shot from Sarko onto the post. That was a world-class save, and 5 minutes later, I believe we were 1-0 up. So it was definitely a turning point for us. We would have probably laboured to have gotten the point, if we were lucky, had that gone in. So that definitely was the point that kept us in the game. I thought Vertonghen and Alderweireld are forming a very solid partnership. They're starting to communicate better, leaving less people unmarked in the box when crosses or breaks. There was one time, I think in the first half, I got a little nervous on some play around the edge of the box, but we snuffed it out. That, or I think Palace were just woeful in their shooting abilities at that point. Yeah, I agree with you. Walker and Davis, without doing anything outstanding, really didn't have a poor game, and really weren't tested going down the wings too much, although that last 10 minutes, including stoppage time, probably had us biting our nails a little bit, because we've seen what we can do in that period. So midfield, Dyer and Ali, they mashed up very well considering their youth. I thought another impressive game by Dyer. They put themselves about a bit and bossed the midfield from that perspective. You're right, Chadley did have a poor game. Yeah. Get on the ball, he tried to get into the box, but really didn't have much of an end effort. Lamela, I was getting annoyed with him cutting in too much, but he had some good hold-up play, and I think everyone applauded that. He put in a good shift at the end of the day. But again, if his passing in the first half was left a little to be desired. Eriksson, when he came on, had the impact, but you are right about Harry. He seemed to be labouring a little bit. I don't know if there's any fatigue, or it's starting to get into his head. Now I'm getting annoyed at people comparing him to a year ago. Remember, a year ago he was coming off the bench still, and he had not scored at that point. So it's an unfair comparison. Granted, he's starting every game now, and he should be amongst the goals. But his play outside of the end product, his tracking back, his role in supporting the midfield, considering he's the lone striker, you have to applaud that. So some of the plays he did today, coming all the way back to help the defence out and to help the midfield out, were commendable and should not be lost in the fact that he didn't get amongst the goals. You would have pegged him to have nailed that header from the corner that went quite a way over the bar. And from that point on, he was relatively quiet. He was involved in the offside decision on the challenge on Hangeland. We're assuming that's what the foul was for, but obviously he was in an offside position as well when Davies headed that in. So, give it time, and I think it'd be all right. But I think if we keep saying that in 4 more matches and he hasn't scored, then there should be some cause for concern. But the good thing is, despite all our naysaying during the transfer window, and who's this Korean lad? I think we all know who the Korean lad is now, and he's got three goals to his